Hey everyone, Ashley here. Welcome to Ashley Talks Movies, and welcome to my review of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Reeling from the loss of Gamora, Peter Quill must rally his team to defend the universe and protect one of their own. But the mission, if not successful, could mean the end of the Guardians. Before I get into the review, if you'd like to support the channel, hit the subscribe button. I'd really appreciate it. Also hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of the videos I'm posting. Time for the review. So my expectations going into Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 were pretty high. This is the third movie in the franchise. These are also characters that I've grown to love more and more over the years, especially when you consider that I didn't know anything about these characters when the first movie came out. I had never read any of the comic books, I had never heard of the Guardians of the Galaxy, and I really wasn't sure what Marvel had planned for these characters. So to get to this point with these characters who have been not only in their own movies, but also other movies in the MCU, and they're just this, ragtag team of misfits, and they're so fun, and they're so great together. I was so pumped and so amped for this movie. And so I'm happy to say that this movie, although it's not perfect, is a very fitting way to wrap up this trilogy. This movie is written and directed by James Gunn, so you get all the things that you've come to expect from a Guardians movie in Volume 3. You have the lovable characters, you have the humor, you have the fun adventure storyline, and you also have that amazing soundtrack or mixtape, all of it. But what really separates Volume 3 from the previous movies is that this one is a lot darker and it's a lot grittier. From the very beginning, the Guardians were these characters that were so used to doing things on their own. They had their own individual goals, and then suddenly they found themselves having to team up, work together. And then over the years and subsequent movies, they've essentially become family. And so one of the themes that this movie is exploring is this idea of family. Found family versus biological family. And you kind of see how each character interprets family in this film. And I think one of the best examples of that, and really what's at the heart of this movie, is Rocket and Rocket's backstory. Rocket's backstory is what's really driving this entire movie. It is the center of all of it. And it is so powerful, and it's so emotional, and it's sad, and it's heartbreaking. And let me tell you, there were times when this movie is delving into Rocket's backstory, I found some moments really hard to watch because they were just so sad and depressing. And but James Gunn does a great job of balancing those moments, because the movie does jump from past to present a lot, and you go to the past to see Rocket's story. You get a better understanding of this character. And again, it's just at the center of all of it. And it was just so well done, but also really, really intense and like I said, emotional and very, very sad. Can't mention a Guardians movie without talking about the soundtrack. The mixtape, every single soundtrack for every Guardians movie has always been great. It's always a mix of songs that I love, or songs that I may have never heard of, or songs I haven't heard for in a while, and they're all used in a very effective way throughout the movie. Like, they're used in certain moments, key moments, and the music really punctuates those scenes, and that's the same case with this movie. The music is used so effectively in these scenes, and it just has a nice balance to help drive the story, and I thought the music was just fantastic. Also, I want to say that Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 also has some of the best action sequences that I've seen in any recent Marvel movie. We just had Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, and there were some good action sequences in that movie, but there weren't a ton of action sequences. This movie has a lot more action sequences, and they're so well choreographed. There's one scene in particular towards the end of the movie that is shot so well and so stylistic, and it's like cool, but also like you can see what's going on, but also the camera's moving around in all kinds of ways, and it was so great. And also, to that end, the visual effects in this movie are also top notch. And again, some of the best visual effects I've seen in any recent Marvel movie. Like, this movie is just, it almost feels like some of the previous Marvel movies that have kind of been middling for a lot of people, a lot of fans, where it's like, yeah, they're okay. Like, this movie is like really solid. It checks all the boxes in terms of what you want from a movie, what you want from a Guardians movie, what you want from a Marvel movie, what you want from an action movie, what you want from a comic book movie, right? And it's doing things really, really well. That being said, it's also not a perfect movie. It has some flaws. And, the flaws are minor, I think, but they're still obvious. And I think one of the big problems with this movie is a problem that a lot of Marvel movies have, is that there's so many different ideas and possibilities with characters and storylines. And I think, often there's this need to kind of throw a lot of ideas into a movie, and maybe, a few movies later you'll explore it, or, maybe you'll wrap it up towards the end of the movie. And with Guardians, this is the end of this trilogy. And so I felt like, James Gunn, who is doing a pretty good job of balancing everything. This movie is a little uneven, but pretty good job of balancing everything, is still trying to cram so much into this one movie. It is so jam-packed. And especially when you have, you're trying to wrap up some storylines for the original Guardians characters. You're trying to set up some things for some of these characters. You're also introducing a number of new characters, like you have the High Evolutionary, and Chukwudi Iwuji plays the High Evolutionary, and he is fantastic in this movie, like chewing the scenery. Some of the scenes almost seem Shakespearean in how he's delivering these lines and how he's interacting with the other characters, and it was just really a marvel, no pun intended, to watch him on screen. You also have Adam Warlock, played by Poulter, is introduced too, and it was interesting what was done with that character. I enjoyed that character. Hope to see more of that character. But Will Poulter did a fantastic job with that character too. So you have so many things going on, and I felt like there were certain things that were introduced in this movie that were some interesting ideas that weren't fully realized when you get to the end. And then also because it is, wrapping up this trilogy, it felt like so much was stacked in the storyline. So many things were happening that you didn't get enough time. You don't have enough time to really explore a lot of those ideas. Another problem I had with this movie, and I feel like this one was the one that bothered me the most, just because I feel like it was the most damaging of some of the issues this movie had, was that, Guardians movies are known for humor. And I love the humor of the Guardians movies. I love the jokes. I love the banter. I love Drax and all these other characters that they get to have those funny moments. But as I said at the beginning of my review, this movie is also darker and grittier than previous Guardians movies. And so there are a number of moments that are just gut-wrenching. And there are times when you have those moments, and then it'll immediately cut to another moment that is like silly. And nothing wrong with, a silly moment. But I felt like sometimes the balance between the serious moments and the humorous moments was very uneven. And then there were also moments where the humor undercut a lot of the more serious, dramatic moments in this movie that would have felt a lot more powerful had they been allowed to breathe a little bit. But overall, Guardians of the Galaxy is a very solid film. It's one of the best Marvel movies to come out recently. And for fans who have been following the Guardians' journey over the years, this is a very satisfying send-off. So that's my review of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. If you've had a chance to watch the movie and you want to share your thoughts, you can do so in the comment section below. While you're here, like this video, hit that thumbs up button, and don't forget to subscribe to see more videos like this.